You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Ian, look at this.
Well, it's a police box. What on earth is he doing here? I mean, these things are usually on the street. Weird. What are you, Julie?
Faint vibration.
It's alive.
Earth Station Who, a fun mashup celebrating nearly 50 years of Doctor Who universe. Hold tight. You never know where the TARDIS is going next.
You're probably a bit confused right now. I broke the glass. It's all come back to me.
What is this?
That's my ship.
What?
Let me take it from the top. Hello, I'm the Doctor. I'm a traveller in space and time. And that thing buried down there is called a TARDIS. Time and relative dimension in space. You're gonna love this.
Hey there, Station Who listeners, and welcome to another episode. That's right, folks. We're back with some Big Finish adventures and the Diary of River Song Series 6. That's right. Woo-hoo. Everyone can start going, dun, 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 dun.
Dun.
It was fun. It was nice. We got 4 new stories with River Song, and once again, Alex Kingston knocks it out of the ballpark, and I am so looking forward to talking about this one with you guys, both at home and our co-host for this week. Of course, let's welcome our usuals here, and we have Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy!
Mary Ogle's also here.
Hey, everybody. It's great to be here.
And we're returning once again to the show, the lovely and fantastic person, Julie Filipek.
Hello, hello.
You know, you're just becoming associated with River Song. I think you might just need to start perming your hair now.
Borrow my sister's wig and probably some of her clothes that she already has for the cosplay.
Of course. I've seen your sister as River, so it's pretty awesome. And it's great to be here with everybody, and we definitely would love to hear from everybody at home. Please write us feedback at ourstationwho.com. We got a lot to talk about, so we're going to talk about some Doctor Who news. First, we'll start with the real news, and we'll talk about that.
The news that's actually news.
Exactly. We'd have a new producer for season 14. That's right. Well, a new old producer.
Well, an old producer.
Yes. Yes. RTD is bringing back one of his old friends, and we have Phil Collinson returning to the show, which is
Getting
pretty
the band
awesome.
back together.
It is awesome. Next, he needs to make the announcement that Murray's joining back up as
Murray! Oh my God, I'm going to be so thrilled if that happens.
I'm so happy.
Yeah. It would be awesome if they can get Murray Gold back. I would be thrilled. But I'm thrilled to have Phil back. I thought Phil was consistent, and I liked a lot of the stuff he did, and he was a really good producer. You know,
I like it because when Chibnall came in and got rid of every single person that he could possibly get rid of, it was really worrisome. So it's good we don't need everyone back, but some few key people, it would be good of people who know how Doctor Who goes.
Well, exactly. I agree with that completely, Jules. And, you know, it's interesting to hear that Phil wants to come back to the show. It's, you know, it shows that it was a good experience, and it wasn't like, God, I'll come back just for a season or something. That he's, you know, reading the interviews with him, he's excited to be back, and that's pretty cool. So
Absolutely.
And so I think that's a really neat, you know, saying about that people are really enthusiastic about season 14, and I'm going to be very curious to see what happens and everything. And I fully still expect, as one of these days, as soon as we finish an episode, they're going to announce the new Doctor. So,
you know what? We keep recording episodes, and yes, that's going to happen.
Yeah, well, right, but it's usually right after, you know.
Sure. Like 10 minutes after we wrap.
Exactly. 10 minutes after.
It should be 10 minutes.
Yeah. Exactly. Or that, or they'll
then
do
we
it.
could just jump back on.
That, or they'll do it right in the middle of it, and we won't see it till, we're all done. Oh, it's too late to do it. It's too late to be out there. Ah, damn it. So, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where, they're going to be going with it. And one of the things Mike Gordon and I were talking about off the air yesterday was that, and I think it's something we need to be bringing up. There's been a ton of cancellations of the restorations and the animations of the old series Doctor Who's. And I know, Julie, with your show, you guys are running into a lot of that. Well, not in the era you're in, but that you previously went through with the second Doctor.
Yes.
They were, promising all these restorations and animated versions of a lot of the specials. And, of the episodes that were missing. And, they were being canceled left and right. We were wondering about that. And it came out that BBC America has canceled the funding that, towards BBC with that.
Yeah, it looks like the last one produced is Abominable Snowman. And BBC America, this is, I think, what I read, and I haven't, I've seen this absolutely confirmed. So, but it says the BBC America is pulling their funding after, because they had a partnership with BBC Studios to release these afterwards on Blu-ray and DVD. And it kind of, I think it's.
I'm really sad.
It's short-sightedness, I think, on their part. Although I guess, look, I mean, if they're doing this to make money, obviously, I can't say short-term there's money in this, right? Like, there's not, because I don't think people are that excited by them overall. But and obviously, as a Who fan, we want to see all the missing episodes restored. Now, one question I have for you guys, because I was thinking about this, and I could look it up, of course, but are there audios available for every single one of the missing episodes?
Yes,
I think there is. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, in some form, we've got some evidence of all the episodes, so that's a good thing.
But when we say there's audio available, some is not the highest quality audio.
It's recorded off people's TVs.
Yeah, people were sitting there with not even cassettes, reel-to-reels, and and everything, just sitting there with microphones right in front of the speaker, recording the audio so they can listen to it again with their friends. And then they go through the digital remastering and everything. It's a lot of work.
I am really sad about it because obviously we've passed that era in my podcast, but we go back and do bonus episodes on these animated series, and some of them are good, some of them are not so great. The Big Finish ones, they had some things to learn as they were, delving into the animations. But I do think it is a bit short-sighted, and most of the ones that I've seen have added to the viewing of everything. So yeah, I hope that someone else picks it up, or they bring back funding for it, because, in the long run, they're going to keep continuing to find people who decide to watch it from beginning to end. And it's difficult to get through the beginning era.
The article that I read was from Screen Rant, and the person there suggested that that it's not, it's delayed because the BBC America is pulling funding, but they're looking for someone else to fund it as well. And one of the possible solutions could be BritBox, which would make sense. I mean, BritBox has all the classic series. And right now they don't have a lot of the animated ones on there. So for them to offer a complete run of classic series, I think is in their best interests. So I don't know what kind of revenue they're generating, but I think it would be in their best interest to do so. They're a possible partner. Mike and I were talking the other day about how I think they're turning away money because, they're not producing the Blu-rays in this country. And I think Mike and I agreed that if we could get these in Blu-ray form, we would. but we get them in DVD form, and
still
and
buying them.
You know, we're still buying them, right? Still buying them. But we're just not spending as much money. The Screen Rant article went on to say that the animation reconstructions have not always met with overwhelming positivity because the BBC hired different studios to animate various serials. It led to an inconsistency in animation style and quality. They criticized elements such as awkward staging, incorrect likeness, the unpopular attempt to use 3D animation in the recent Web of Fear reconstruction. But I think, and we even criticized the last one we watched because we thought it felt rushed. It felt like it just didn't have the same quality as some of the others that we'd seen, even though it was by the same company. Mm-hmm. So, obviously there's some issues there, but to disband, so maybe that it's at a halting point right now, but I have to believe that at some point it's going to continue because the idea of not doing it just seems, especially since we've come so far, we've only got like a handful left, I think.
No, you got more than that.
Yeah. But you got the biggest one. I'm blanking on the name, but that 12
the Dalek Master Plan?
Yeah, Dalek Master Plan is going to be a beast. And then the Highlanders, because of the tartan, is a problem. They just don't want to animate a whole bunch of tartan. That's actually why they've pulled that off, even though that's, Jamie's appearance, which would be a popular one from a viewership perspective. It's just hard to animate.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. So far, right now, they have Galaxy 4 still coming to us. And they also have, of course, The Abominable Snowman coming.
Yeah.
So those are the two that are still guaranteed. When we're going to get them, we don't know.
Galaxy 4 has come out.
In the UK. It hasn't been released here in the States yet. And
that's fair.
And it's going to be very interesting to see what we get and how soon we'll get these. And I'm sure we're going to eventually get, like what Mike was saying, it would be great for completists also. But, how many completists are there who are watching every single episode who don't host a podcast? So,
Well, I was going to say, there seem to be a lot, and they all have podcasts.
Well, I'll tell you what, though. If you tell people, there's storylines missing, then that's going to deter people from binging the other seasons because they'll be like, well, it's not complete. I don't want to watch it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who start with the Third Doctor, and it's partially because of black and white, but partially because everything's complete after that.
Exactly. There's nothing missing.
Yeah.
Well, for a while there was missing ones in that run too. So it's just as of the last 15 years that it's complete.
Yeah. I mean, the idea, because it is frustrating if you go to, if a streaming service like BritBox says you can watch the whole series here from start to finish, that's attractive to people. But if you say, well, we've only got some episodes, then people are like, no, I'm not gonna. I don't care.
That's why a lot of people don't know about the First Doctor because there's so much, there's so many holes in there, and
there's more missing in the second.
Yeah, I was going to say even more so for the second Doctor.
But it's weird, isn't that? It's weird to think that there's more missing from the second, but yet there we are.
But it's interesting because, exactly, because a lot of people, like you said, Julie, a lot of people start at the Third Doctor and then they venture into the Second Doctor, but a lot of them stay away from the First Doctor for some reason. It's really interesting. And this is just from talking to people at panels and talking to people in fandom over the years. I've never seen a First Doctor story. Why? It's black and white.
Well, it is very different. I mean, even the tone is very different.
They're missing out on some of the best companions, though.
They are. Ian and
Barbara are amazing.
Ian and Barbara and Jamie. Like Ian, Barbara, Jamie, and Zoe.
Yes.
Hands down, best one.
The Second Doctor, they're missing out on. Patrick Troughton is amazing.
And
he is amazing.
And you get to, you don't get to miss the gunfighters, which should be missing.
Hey, no.
Yeah, why wasn't that one missing?
Have you watched either The Smugglers or The Space Pirates?
I've watched both.
those are worse than the gunfighters.
We have not done.
It didn't have singing in it, so it's okay.
Yeah, but there are 2 episodes about pirates, and I can't remember anything about it. If there's pirates, it should be fun and exciting, and they're not.
So, and that's true, but, you know, I do remember the pirate story in the new series. So, there you go.
That's a step up.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, wow. That's a low bar.
We haven't reviewed that one on our Station Who yet.
Oh, you guys never did that one?
No, because that's one of the early Matt Smith series. So,
man, that means we're going to have to do it.
I know. Sorry, Mary.
That is so unfair.
Well, you know, it's going to be fun watching Lord Gratham from Downton Abbey, you know, being a pirate. So, yeah, it should be very interesting to see what's going on with that. But we got some good stuff, but hopefully the animation will keep on coming and they could find a funder for it. Hopefully. Knock on wood.
Hope springs eternal.
Exactly. And Doctor Who fans, we have hope. That's the one thing that is consistent about us. But also, let's talk a little bit. So we don't usually talk rumors on this show. And no, we do not know who the 14th Doctor is going to be. I'm putting that out right now.
We're one of the few that don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I'm sorry, Tennant fangirls, fanboys. He is not coming back. He's going to come back for the 60th. He's already confirmed that he's coming back for the 60th anniversary. He said, anytime there's an anniversary, I will be there. That is a quote from David Tennant. But he is way too busy, and, you know, he doesn't need to become the Doctor again full time. And
why, he's currently traveling the world in 80 days.
Exactly.
Right.
Without a TARDIS.
Exactly.
So.
He also is raising a bunch of kids.
Oh, that series is so good, too.
Yes, that is true on both counts. So, you know, there's, you know, it would be great if Georgia Moffat became, you know, she became the new Doctor, you know, or something like that. But we're not doing any rumors or anything. It's crazy because there's so many places that have picked up the story that Tennant is going to be the 14th Doctor, and even some mainstream sites. And it was just like, oh my God, you guys are fools. You guys are
just laughable. They don't care though.
I was going to say
they're clickbait for them.
They're not fools. David Tennant hits more than anything else. Like if you put that name out there, it's going to hit or anything about that. They're not interested in real.
So the next episode of Earth Station Who is going to have David Tennant on it. Okay, there.
All future episodes.
All Tennant all the time.
Exactly.
Hashtag David Tennant.
Exactly. We'll call it Earth Station Tennant. We'll change our name.
There you go.
Yes.
Yep.
The new Doctor podcast.
Tennant and Graham.
Exactly.
The Tennant and Graham show.
Exactly. Now there's fanfic out there for you.
I'm sure there already is.
Yes, I'm like, it's got to exist already.
Yes. But also there's, you know, today I saw the rumors that, you know, Donna's going to be coming back to be the full-time companion, and I love her. I thought Donna was the biggest surprise of the new series for me, truthfully.
Yes.
And, you know, I hated her when I first saw her in Runaway Bride, but when she came back in Partners in Crime, there was something different about her. Yes. And Catherine Tate did an amazing job with the character. And I thought she became one of the best new companions of the new series.
Yeah, she's my favorite of the new series.
I mean, just the chemistry that her and David Tennant had on screen was phenomenal. And it's like, well, unless both of them are coming back, it wouldn't work nearly as well.
No, agreed. And, she gained her memory back. No.
Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of huge fan base that think that the way that ended was a mistake, and the chance to correct that in some way, to undo it, would something that all fans would do.
I agree. I agree with that.
I agree it's a mistake. I don't agree we should continue on.
And you remember,
Well, I'm not saying
and remember
not
the
so long.
savior RTD did that for you. You know, just remember that he's the one who.
Yeah, that was all RTD's idea.
I mean, we kept saying at the start of the show, like, you know, Russell T's bringing the band together. So, I mean, a lot of people are thinking he's going to bring the whole band together, and that's probably not true. Although, you know, the thing about this deal that they have now is they can do anything. So if they want to bring back, you know, a couple of a doctor for a short season or a movie or whatever, they can. You know, so that should be interesting to see how that plays out if we get anything. Because look, everybody was thinking like maybe they could use this to tell some Eighth Doctor stories, right? And that's possible too. So there's a lot of things that could happen here. But that said, I really don't think we're going to get David Tennant and Donna Noble like in an extended series for any time soon.
I'm not against a side project necessarily, but that's an entirely different thing.
It is.
And again, if RTD decides to make, you know, a DWU, so a Doctor Who universe, like they've done with the MCU, and have a series of like movies, shows, minisodes, and that kind of thing, like that could be really fun.
He's done it before.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, that's where we got Torchwood. That's where we got Sarah Jane. That's where we got like a lot of stuff. So, did that come out of class? No, we'll not talk about that. Anyway.
No.
But
it's like the prequels.
And Big Finish has shown that there's an audience for all types of Doctor Who characters to have their own thing going. So, yeah, you know, the door is open, I think, for a lot of things. But as far as, you know, David being the next Doctor, quote unquote, I love David Tennant, but that's not what I want. I want the franchise to move forward.
Not backwards.
Yeah, we need somebody new.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny because, you know, people were quoting, well, Tom Baker in the 50th anniversary said the Doctor would be seeing many new old faces. And it's just like, no.
Yeah, whatever.
Don't even go there.
You can bring, you know, one-offs. You could have episodes where, you know, they interact with people from the past, but I don't necessarily think we need to just do rehashes or, you know, bringing people back for long-term.
No.
Don't need it.
Can't disagree with you guys. No, not at all.
So now, does this mean for the 60th or whatever that we won't see like David and Donna like together from that time period appearing in the episode? That would be fun.
Who knows?
Yeah. I wouldn't be against that.
Exactly.
So that might be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can guarantee we probably won't see Jodie in the 60th back so quick. I don't think she'd come back that quickly.
Well, no. I mean, who knows? But you know, like I said, nothing's off the table. But
right.
I doubt it. I don't know what the plan is. So
no, nobody knows. Other than a certain guy named RTD. So
he's already written a bunch of episodes, so
yeah,
that's pretty awesome.
He's probably have them written for like
Levine are coming back. Return to the
He's been writing them all along.
World War IV. Awesome.
Pretty sure we could find like an author on, you know, Archive of Our Own, and it's like, oh yeah, that's just secretly Russell T, and he's just like getting ideas and being like, does this work?
Just
this worked. This didn't work.
Hey, should I start this rumor and put this out there? See what people think.
He wouldn't be the first one, actually.
You know what? Yeah.
Wow, that's not a bad idea. That is really, really not a bad idea. But yeah, folks, just don't believe these rumors. You know, there's going to be official releases, and, you know, it's going to be here sooner than you think. And that's the cool thing about it. You know, we might have to wait till summertime to find out who the new Doctor is. Or wouldn't it be grand if we didn't find out till October in the special? And all wouldn't that would be pretty damn amazing.
That's not going to happen now.
No,
I know that.
It makes me sad. I would love to get like a surprise of just who is it going to be, have no idea, and go in blind. Would be amazing.
That would be awesome.
Oh, yeah. I think all of us would. But then, you know, that would kill our ratings with our special that we usually do. Who's the new Doctor? So, but yeah.
It's all about us.
Of course it's all about us. We're podcasters. Duh. So that's going to, I don't think we need to talk about anything else with that. Any other things? Oh, we didn't actually talk about this. Joe Martin's Doctor, the, Fugitive Doctor, is getting her own comic series in April. So
That's cool.
That's cool.
Exciting.
Our friends over at Titan Comics are putting out the Fugitive Doctor series. And I'm hoping it'll be great because she's a great character. I would love to find out more about her. But, I know anything in the comics isn't canon, so.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of, I wonder exactly, what they have to work with as far as a Bible goes and how much leeway they have. So, not to say that it still can't be good. They also announced that we're getting a new David Tennant and Martha Jones series that's going to be written by Dan Slott. And yes. I'm super excited about that. I'm a big fan of Dan Slott, and I know he's a big fan of Doctor Who. So that's great. Yeah, the cover, as gorgeous as it looks, is kind of odd because it's got the two of them doing like the heart symbol in their hands. Yeah. And I'm like, it's not exactly. I don't think they ever did that. Yeah, they're not a couple like that. At least no one wants that. So that's kind of a weird. It's a gorgeous cover, but it's just kind of weird in what it represents. But anyway, I'm looking forward to that comic for sure.
And I don't keep up with the news as much, but did I hear a rumor that there are going to be more Target books?
Yes. They're publishing new Target books, I think, featuring the 10th Doctor. I think it's the first couple.
Ooh.
So, is from the rumor I'm hearing. And I saw the same article, I think, about it. Mm-hmm. And so I'd be very curious about it. When I was all the way through, I think, my junior or senior year of college, I had every one of the Target books that came out. And even, after Doctor Who ended, they had some of the new adventures and stuff like that. So I collected all that. And they also had the ones that they did here in the States for the Loch Ness Monster and other ones. And it was awesome. I had grabbed all those. It did help working at a bookstore, in high school, that I was able to order them. So it was pretty cool. And literally it's like, to this day, I regret getting rid of them. But it was like I was in college. I needed beer money. The typical.
Life happens.
Exactly.
Did they talk about the writers at all, or just?
I don't think they've announced any of the writers yet.
Mm-mm. I really hope it's not more Justin Richards. Sorry, Justin, but you're my nemesis.
Or Gareth Roberts.
Surprise, it's going to be Mary Ogle.
Yeah.
That's your actual secret project, isn't it?
That's it. I'm in charge.
I've been waiting to hear that. Congratulations, Mary. You're the new host of our station.
Right.
So definitely, that's all good news. That is really good news because I'm sure tons of fans would love to read novelizations of some of the Tennant era and such. And I didn't see, though, if they were going to be original stories or just the novelizations of the episodes. So
yeah.
So they didn't say that.
Forgive me for my for not knowing this, but did Target do original stories?
No, they just did novelizations.
That's what I thought. What I thought. So that seems, it would be weird.
Actually, let me put a hold on. They had some of the companion chronicles, like they had the Harry Sullivan adventures and such. Because Ian Martin actually wrote that one. So I remember that. And I think they also had a Sarah Jane adventure too.
All the companions that chose Harry Sullivan.
Yeah, I know.
I love companion chronicles, and I can just think of certain pairings of people like Jamie and Kamel, and some others that I'm like, I wanted them to have adventures, so I should just give them some ideas.
Well, there you go. And now this is how fan fiction is born, basically. So awesome. Let's take a quick break. We will be back, and we're going to be talking all about River Song.
Hi everyone, it's Nathan, host of the 42 Cast. Our second season is just underway, and it's never been a better time to check in on what we're doing. Whether it's talking about the latest movies from the MCU, watching the Arrowverse shows, talking about classics such as Star Trek and Doctor Who, playing 8-bit video games, or sharing celebrity interviews, the 42 Cast has something for everyone. So give it a listen and discover why it's the ultimate answer to fandom, geekiness, and everything. The 42 Cast is a proud member of the ESO Network.
Welcome back. Now we are talking all about Series 6 of The Diary of River Song, which featured River meeting, or not really even meeting, other than the first Doctor. You know, she interfered with Doctors basically 4, 3, 2, and 1 in these stories, which was...
Interfere is a little bit...
Yeah, I wouldn't say interfere.
Yeah, no.
I think
It was
so.
sort of...
Picking up
It was-
pieces
I mean,
or
she was
foreshadowing.
doing her own thing around their stories.
Yeah, she was prequeling a lot of them.
A lot of
sometimes sideways-ing.
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, but these were fun. These were fun.
They would.
I think these were the most consistent of all the Diary of River songs.
Just in quality.
Yeah,
Just in
quality
quality.
wise. Yeah, but when I was listening to them, the first two I just thought were okay, but I loved 3 and 4, especially 4, because my very first episode of Doctor Who ever was The Talons of Wei Chiang.
Okay, so you have nostalgia going for you.
Yeah, I love Talons of Wai Chang, but I thought that this one, the story was the Talons of Grill was the weakest one of these.
I agree. I actually like the first two the best.
I love the first two. I thought the first two were phenomenal. So Mike,
That's okay.
Mike's the odd man out.
And why would that be any different from any other day? Huh? I see no problem with that.
Well, I will say, because I've been pretty critical of some of these as well, and I will say that there's nothing here that I thought was really, really bad. But there was nothing in these stories that was really, really great either, as far as I was concerned. There were some that were better than others, but nothing really blew me away. I think I've said this before, but I don't understand why every single River Song story or everything has to be so strongly connected with the Doctor. I would love it to have her just go on an adventure without even mentioning the Doctor, without even running across somebody the Doctor knows or anything about that. I think the universe is big enough, and yet Big Finish feels the need to always tie her in with some sort of Doctor story. If they can't tie her in with the Doctor himself, then the story, and then something that goes along with it, the companions and whatnot. So I just kind of am, this is kind of interesting, but yet, here we are in Series 6, and we still have just not let her just do her thing.
Yeah, I felt. I mean, I see where you're coming from, but I actually felt that there was at least less pining about the Doctor. I mean, in some of the earlier episodes,
yes,
it was all about her just going on and on and on about how much she needed to find the Doctor and she couldn't live without him and all this crap.
Or my husband is somewhere around here.
It wasn't River at all.
No.
I don't know. I think the conceit was kind of interesting of kind of, having her around the edges of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed that aspect of it. The fact that it was at the edges. I actually would have preferred if she'd never spoken to any of them, because I think she spoke to both the first and the third, actually.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. I would have preferred not to have heard from them at all. Still keep it around the stories. Although it was fun because the guy who voiced the third Doctor, we actually just did Operation Hellfire on my other podcast, and he is fantastic as the third Doctor. you didn't hear him quite as much in this one, but in Operation Hellfire, he was really, really good. So it was good to hear his voice again because they had the same voice actor for it.
I think that's the other thing that kind of annoyed me too, is that I found almost all of the voices of characters that we know.
Yeah.
Terrible.
I think I agree with you in the first episode. I was really taken out. Like Susan, Ian, and Barbara were not. Yeah. They were not great. No. David Bradley as the first Doctor still kind of works. He works better visually than he does audio-wise.
Oh, very much so. Because he sounds like the guy from Harry Potter.
I was okay with Ian and Barbara. Susan really took me out.
Susan was not really well.
And these are the people that are doing the Big Finish adventures for the first Doctor now, right?
Oh, yeah. These are also the same people that were in the TV movie.
It did not do anything for me to want to subscribe to those, because I was like, if they sound like this, I might get used to them after a while, but there was nothing in there that I grabbed a hold of me like those characters.
I'd rather listen to the episodes that were, the older companion thinking back on their adventure, as opposed to getting recast. Because some of the actors are still around, so they'll do So I like those. Right. Those companion chronicles.
Because recently we did the Big Finish with Susan and the Eighth Doctor. So, and it was great to hear her, coming back. But, the gentleman who plays Ian, he's in his 90s. I don't know how,
That's why
he's not going to be able to sound like
So I listened to one with him for the Library of Alexandria, and it was old Ian telling the story of that adventure. So it was one of those where it was more because you're just okay, yeah, he's old now.
Well, it makes sense.
Depends on how they structure it.
But it worked because he was just narrating what happened in the past.
Right, exactly. Yes, yeah. Instead of having new people playing the roles and everything. The characterizations, though, weren't bad at all. With Ian and Barbara.
I mean, it's always going to be harder in audio.
Of course, but Barbara was spunky and, went right to the, foster parents' house and, confronted the guy and, she called him for what he was. Right to his face, and I loved that. I thought that was right in character with her too. Mm-hmm. And Ian was more like, why didn't you go with me? Being the chivalrous,
chivalrous man.
Exactly. And
the only one I thought. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say the only one I felt that was off was Susan, because they were saying that she was timid and shy. And I was like, that's not the Susan I remember from an Earnhardt child who was rocking out to Slayer. I don't think so.
She wasn't really acting like that. I mean, they said that, but she wasn't really acting like that.
No, not at all.
I mean,
that was the only thing that was a little
there
weird.
There were some inconsistencies there.
But I enjoyed the first two, I think mainly because I really enjoy the first and second Doctor. And I've actually watched those episodes. The ones that center around the third and fourth Doctor, the last two episodes, I was like, I haven't gotten to these stories yet. So
I have seen, I think we've done all of those stories on this show, actually.
We actually have.
That are referencing. So although the Peep Show one was the one that was the weakest for me because I really didn't remember.
Because that was Carnival of Monsters.
Right. I didn't really remember that one that strongly. So. And
it was interesting because how River was referring to Joe Grant because she's, I think the next episode is her last story.
Right.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was weird too. It's
you can't look it up on frippin' Wikipedia. Come on.
But that's the weird thing about that too, because that scene was odd because she's like, oh, she's about to break his heart, and I was like, really? I didn't really. I mean, obviously they were connected, but I don't remember that being that much of a breakup.
Oh, I do. He was really devastated.
Mm-hmm.
Have we done that one?
We haven't done that one yet.
Okay, well, that's maybe why. Maybe I haven't seen that one. That's why.
I think that's why. No, but it was interesting too because I love you had Dan Starkey as the Sontaran or Sontarans.
Mm-hmm.
And, you had the Return of the Ogrons. Ooh, But, that one, it was okay. And then you had the security guard or whatever. I don't even remember the guy's name. And it was an okay one for me. But, like I said, I liked the Talons of Greel because, it tied into one of my favorite Tom stories. And, it lines it up perfectly with, she was leaving as the TARDIS, oh, that's my cue to go, hearing the TARDIS come in.
I love the second one. For some reason, I really connected with it. The Yeti are not my favorite, but I just loved, one, it also helped that I listened to the behind the scenes, and Alex Kingston adores the Yeti. She's like, I have fond memories of them. I thought they were great. She thought they were originally First Doctor because her mind just went that way. But it was also just fun to hear, like, she was super excited about that episode. So I think it comes through. And they also talked about, the gentleman that they had playing the officer, who I actually liked Captain Knight. Officer. Captain Knight. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Captain Knight. I liked him in that serial. I remember liking him and being sad that he died, so I was glad that they kind of brought him back. And
spoilers. No, just kidding.
Yeah, for, again, a show that's over 50 years old.
Just doing it right back at you.
Yeah. But I enjoyed getting some of those finer details. And again, since it was a prequel and she didn't interact with the Doctor in that one, I really enjoyed it.
There was a couple of things, as I was listening to it, River would say things, and I was like, oh, is that a thing? And then I'd have to look it up. I went to look it up, and I was like, no, I don't know if they're seeding more stories with her or just establishing that she's had more experience than we've even seen. But in the second episode, she mentions that she hasn't, it was about Euston Station. She says, I haven't been here for a while, and there's no evidence of that story at all that where she's ever been there. And then in the Peep Show episode, she says, like, she was trapped in a miniscope once, and we don't have evidence to that story. So they're not referencing other stories of the diaries that we know yet. But I found it interesting that two of the tales here reference stories that, we haven't seen before. And I guess that's because they're in no relation to the Doctor.
Right. Well,
because Big Finish is only going to tell us stories that are related to the Doctor in some way.
Well, exactly. But they do, in past chapters and stories that they've done, she's referenced other adventures that she's been on that we haven't even seen or anything yet. So this is it's not the first time that she's done that.
You get the sense, I was thinking about this, and, we listen to these once every few months, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it didn't even occur to me until this time. But do you think they're telling these diary entries in any order, or just random?
Random.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought too. But there did seem there's been times where there has been some continuity between one story to the other. And I did feel in this one there was some continuity a little bit. But it would have been, what would have made sense to me is if they had connected them better. Like if there was something that she was looking for or some things that she was looking for that were in relation to the Doctor, and she had a purpose to go to each one of these time periods rather than just randomly. Because it just seemed kind of just too coincidental that she would do this.
Oh, she had a purpose.
Yeah,
but it wasn't but it was a different purpose for each one.
It's so funny that you mentioned that, though, because that was my main criticism of those other ones that were trying to tell an overarching story, but they did it poorly.
Yeah.
So I'm actually kind of excited that they
didn't try.
That they did try. It's good job. You learned from your mistake. You went in one direction. So maybe in 7 they try for an overarching, but it actually works.
But to Mary's point a little bit, it just feels like she went through the Doctor's diary or stuff that he has said to her in the past and been like, ooh, I want to go check out that story. And so she's still kind of, obsessed, even though she's not pining for him. She's still kind of obsessed with his history and what things that he's done by going on these adventures. And it just kind of, to me, undermines her.
Well, exactly. And, you know, she's even said, oh, one of the times I took my husband's TARDIS and, you know, he just happened to leave one of those diaries sitting around. So, of course, I read through it. And, you know, so that's where I got your name from. And I remembered you from that. And you had that a couple times in this. So it was just interesting to see.
She knew well enough, like certain things that happened, and she didn't know some things that were going to happen. So it kind of made it, you know, interesting from that perspective as to what she could expect and not expect from some of these adventures. But I don't know. I just felt like that still the Doctor's shadow still overhangs the series.
I mean, I agree that she's definitely a strong enough character that she does not need to have the shadow of the Doctor hanging over her all the time. There is absolutely no reason why she can't just go out and have an adventure on her own and not have the Doctor there at all or talked about or, you know, it's just her.
No, exactly.
Absolutely.
And I agree completely with that.
I still think they did rein it in some this time, despite it being around the edges of the Doctor's story, that she still was not, you know, talking about him every other sentence like she does sometimes.
It's also why I liked the second one. I think most of all the stories in it is because I think it had the least impact, to be perfectly honest, on like the upcoming story, because like her meeting Ian, Barbara, and Susan is a pretty huge impact. And then obviously she meets up with the third Doctor in that third one and all of that. So I just felt like in the second one, they just kind of glossed over a few things and we're just like, we're going to interact with one of the characters that you've seen before, but it's not going to like lead directly into the one with the Yeti. So
yeah, she can't kiss everybody and make them forget.
No, exactly.
As much as she may want to.
No, there were a couple of them, you know, because she had almost set the course right so it would lead into the proper storyline. And, you know, like the thing with Greel and, you know, making sure, you know, it was he didn't have the vortex manipulator working so that way the Doctor could, you know, sanctify and everything. And
yeah, but she didn't know that.
What?
She went there for that, but she didn't know that he was going to use it against the Doctor later.
No, of course not. But well, she could have read it in the diary. You know, she could have, you know, completely done that. But it was just interesting. You know, like in the first Doctor storyline, you know, she was setting it up, you know, pay attention to that Susan girl, you know, keep an eye on her, you know, cause that's how Ian and Barbara become all suspicious of her
yeah.
And it's just like, really? Yeah. It's like, and then the whole thing with the great intelligence and everything in the second story, it was just like,
I liked the first three. I'll tell you, Mike. I didn't. Even though I love the talents of Wei Chang, this story wasn't a good enough like prequel, if you will. And I just found it kind of just weak, actually, and it didn't. And I like the fact that, you know, Jago's in it, but to me, like without the other half, it doesn't he doesn't work as well. And I know you can't get the other half.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of hard to do that.
But I mean, you don't have to, you know, like he just sort of would prattle on. And I just didn't feel like it was the same character. And the only highlight of that to me were two things. One, I really liked the River and Jago duet. I thought that was
hilarious.
Really fun.
I love that.
That was great.
And I also liked the guy who played you know, Greel or whatever. That voice was pretty like amazing. But I'm like, man, how ballsy are they? Because not only are they picking a story that's probably one of the highest regarded stories of the Doctor's franchise, but they're also picking one that has like a lot of problems problematically, right?
Oh, so much racism. So much racism.
So racism, and you've got of course Mr. Sin or whatever, and it's like, ooh, we're gonna dip into that pool. All right.
I was surprised when I started listening to it. It's like, oh, they're going there. They are, and it's like, oh man, that's asking for.
I think the other thing too that I had with the last one is that it had the least amount of river in it, or at least it felt that way.
I agree.
It was almost like, I mean, that what was the guy's name? Lee Sang, or he was more the main character than River was.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree. It was because, like, I remember, especially at the beginning of it, it takes like 5-10 minutes for her to even show up. Because they do a very long intro, and then she shows up for like a minute, and then she gets cast aside, and they introduce new characters, and then she comes back like another 5-10 minutes later. So it's heavy in the beginning of her not being around.
Plus, they give that character Chang a sort of like sympathetic backstory, and I'm like, that guy's an asshole. I don't want a sympathetic backstory for this guy.
No, he is the total lackey. He's the one who brought the life forces to Greel.
Yeah,
so,
I thought, that guy who did the voice to Greel was so good. I thought he was just amazing. So
it's hard to feel sorry for a guy who's missing his lady love when he's going around picking up young girls and bringing them in to be eaten.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a little disconnect there.
Yeah, I could see that. But he's like, oh, but we loved each other at one point, and it's like, oh God, had to go there. But yes, I thought it was interesting to see River in the different eras. I knew exactly where they were going when they had the police officer walking through Chowder's Lane at the very beginning. And it's like, oh, and then there's River. Hi. So, I'm supposed to.
I like the references to her mother, to Amy Pond. I actually enjoyed those, and it's like, it's like this outfit is totally my mom, except for the hat. And I was like, I can picture that.
Yeah. I know. I can picture that too, and I was like, ooh.
Yes, we know you were doing that, Mike.
But no, I agree with Julie, because that's the one thing I have in my notes is that this series, she refers to her parents, and particularly Amy, like multiple times. And this is the first series that I remember her doing that as much. She actually refers to herself as Pond.
In the song.
Pond.
In the song. The song is brilliant. Not just the duet, them doing it, but the lyrics, are amazing. I mean, she mentioned Sutek. I was like, this is amazing.
It was fun. There was it was a good ending, and that's what I liked about it. I wasn't like some of the previous seasons. It's been, how much longer do we have to listen to this? Is this done yet? This one, I didn't feel that way. And
well,
that's what I liked about it.
I think because they were sort of using other storylines as a crutch, if you will, the characters that they were using were substantial because they were from classic stories, rather than when she does go on original adventures and does meet original characters. Sometimes I feel like Big Finish has come up short in developing those characters well enough for me to care about them. Whereas this is chock full of characters that I already know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, I mean, funnily enough, this is actually the one that's most like fan fiction.
Yeah.
Because that is the whole point of fan fiction. Taking these underused characters and doing something with them.
And again, that's why I think we didn't get a showstopper. We didn't get an episode that was amazing, but we got very consistent across the board. They were all pretty much and it was better than I think a lot of other diaries because of that consistency.
No, agreed.
Because we've had some bad ones.
Oh, we've had some very,
yes,
very
we
bad
have.
And there was also nobody like in this series. I mean, last time we reviewed River, it was with David Tennant. So it was it wasn't part of the diaries, but so we had that great chemistry. The one before that, she had Michelle Gomez. The one before that was Tom Baker. So she's always had these like really outstanding people that she could bounce off of. There's nobody really in here that is on that level, unfortunately. So it makes it not a great series, but it's not a terrible series. It's actually has some. And another note that I made, we have critiqued many times, almost more times than we've critiqued Chibnall. We've made fun of the theme song, and how annoying it is and everything.
They toned it down.
We noticed that when they did the David Tennant one, that they used her theme, they orchestrated it better, and it just sounded better. Now, we are back with the opening theme, and it still sounds like pretty annoying and loud. Same thing with the closing theme. But there were times during the orchestration, particularly in the first episode, in the first story, where it ends with this sort of 60s style version of the theme.
Yes.
Which I really liked a lot.
Yeah, that was cool.
So I want to make it clear. I don't hate the theme, but I hate the style and orchestration of the opening and closing theme.
Yes.
The orchestration and just if you turned it down to like 4 instead of 10, it would be
12.
fine.
Yes. 100. Yes. Oh my God. There's just no reason to do that.
Nope.
But Mike,
like
you're not. Yeah. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just going to rant. That, between every single episode.
Yeah.
It really detracts.
I did want to agree with Mike, though. There was some orchestration that was really well done. I like how Big Finish, usually at the end, they'll just have some of the soundscapes and some of the score just by itself that you can listen to. That was really good. And then I don't know about any of you. I always listen to the behind the scenes because I find it interesting. My fellow podcasters on my podcast don't do that. And then I call them out on it every time because they're like, "Oh, I didn't like this," and I'm like, "Well, here's why," and they're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'll listen to it next time."
Well, I mean, everything that you need should be inherent in the story itself.
Oh, yeah.
So you shouldn't need the behind the scenes stuff. So, but I always like going behind the scenes of anything. Lord of the Rings, any excuse that I have to hear more Alex Kingston, I'm going to take. So, I do appreciate that. But I like the fact that they put them on all these sets.
Yes.
That's one thing I don't think you can get. You can stream these, I think, but I don't think you can get access to the behind the scenes that way as well.
Nope, that sounds perfect. So do we want to go ahead and rate these? 1 out of 5 TARDISes, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best.
Are we rating each one separately?
Nope,
No.
all together.
No, rate them overall.
Yep, because that's what we always do. We don't do them separately. So, Mikey, since you asked the question, you get to go first.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't remember rating these, to be honest with you, but I'll give these like, a 2.5 or 3. Like it's just, they're medium. They're not horrible. They're not great. They're sort of in between. And I wouldn't, if no one's listened to an episode of this, Big Finish, I wouldn't give them this set to start. No. But, compared to some of the ones, the minefield that we've played with some of the other adventures, this one's not as bad. You won't step on a bad one. Yeah. So,
step in a bad one.
And one last thing that's in my notes here. A lot of times with these Big Finishes, I get really annoyed with an alien voice or something that they're doing audio wise that I just feel is unnecessary. I didn't feel that at all. Most of these are human-based stories, so but I liked all the voices. The only voice I didn't like was the voice of the Great Intelligence, and that's because I don't like the way they do that anyway.
Yeah. Fair.
So I can't argue it was legit like the Greatest Intelligence sounds. I just hate that sort of whispery sound that he does. So.
No, totally makes sense. Mary, what about you?
Actually, really enjoyed this overall. I think I'll give it a 3.75 because I'm not sure it's quite a 4, but it's it's much more consistent overall. The quality, I think, is actually fairly high. Yeah, some of the voices are off, but I mean, what are you going to do? It's very hard in audio to get that across. It's easier in video because you can rely on makeup and mannerisms and things like that. But I think they did well with what they could, except for Susan, who I thought was actually pretty bad. And I kind of like the conceit of it being around the edges of the Doctor's stories. And yes, I agree that it would be nice to have adventures without the Doctor, but I thought they did it pretty well. And at least she's not sitting around pining over him the whole time. So, and Alex Kingston is amazing as always. So, I would recommend these to people.
Okay.
Do you realize, speaking of the Doctors, do you realize that there's only one Doctor incarnation that she hasn't talked to yet?
Really?
That, and of course, in our course of reviewing these diaries.
Oh. I know she hasn't talked to 9 yet.
That's true. No, has she?
No. She has not.
Then there's 2. Sorry, that's not what I was thinking.
So who is the other one, Mike?
Because she hasn't talked to the second Doctor yet either.
Yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But in this one, she talks to 1 and 3, but not 2.
True.
And she has talked to all the others.
Multiple times.
A matter of time.
You should have talked to Jamie, but
Yeah. Okay.
I would love. Why hasn't that happened yet? Why hasn't that happened yet? The River and Jamie has to happen.
Yeah, she and Jamie just need to go off, dump the Doctor, have some adventures together.
There's no reason that hasn't happened. Like that needs to happen.
Yeah, I could see that. We're going to go get into a wee bit of trouble, Missy.
I've looked ahead at some of the other ones that are already out, released. Series 7 and 8, whatever, 9, and that still hasn't happened. I'm like, why?
Yep. He needs to find all the beasties.
The wee beasties.
The wee beasties.
Because I know he's up for doing Big Finish.
Oh, he's done plenty.
Yeah, yes. There's no excuse for that.
Frasier has done tons. Because, he had him sitting at his table the time when Mary and I ran into him at Gallifrey.
A bunch of them, yeah.
And it was like, oh, hi, we love you, bye. Okay, Julie, what do you got for your rating?
I'm going to give it 3.5 TARDISes. I have to do a conversion in my head since I normally, do it out of 10. I think, again, overall, it's the most consistent, and I really enjoyed Alex in all of these. I really enjoyed the first 2, especially, and nothing was out there that was really annoying. Susan's voice was a little bit weak, and things like that. I like fringe stories. I like playing with that a little bit, and yeah, I thought it was fun.
Okay. I'm going to give this a solid 4. I enjoyed it. For me, it was consistent. It was consistency. These were more enjoyable than a lot of the past ones we've had, and where they tried connecting the stories, and afterwards I'd be scratching my head, and it's like, how did they connect? And I didn't feel like this. It was just 4 different, adventures of River Song that just happened to tie into the first 4 Doctors, and it was enjoyable. I liked it, and Alex Kingston keeps on bringing it, and we got to hear her sing. So, it's like when they said, "Oh, you're going to sing," I was like, "Oh no, they're not going to make her do that." But oh yes, they did. Yes, they did. So I would, if it was somebody's first dive into Big Finish, no, not at all. But if they are a fan of River Song and they've listened to Big Finish and some of the other ones, I said go for it, because that's the thing with the Diary of River Songs. You don't need to listen to these in any order. You can pick up.
That's true.
You could pick. This could be the first River Song one you've listened to, and that's the cool thing about it. And some of them you could tell, with some of the other Doctors, it depends on the companions they have and everything.
Do you think it would hold together if people were not at all familiar with with the episodes that these are around?
Let's talk to Julie because she ran into that.
Did you find that more difficult?
I think I found it the most difficult with the last story. The third story, I think it's pretty straightforward. There's some sort of place where they're hosting a whole bunch of different alien species, and she's doing all this thing. Like, that is a pretty straightforward thing. The fourth one, it took me a little while to really figure out what was going on.
I could see that.
Yeah. I could definitely see that. I think if you had seen the Talons already, I think you would have probably understood it more, who the characters, like Mr. Sin and everything like that, because you have no idea, and that's, Deep Roy at his one of his earliest roles. So it's pretty cool to see. So yeah, it's interesting. What did you guys at home think? Did you guys like it? Did you not? Write us feedback at earthstationwho.com. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. Speaking of love, folks, we have a killer episode for you next. We are going to talk all about, you ready for this, folks? We are going to do a Facebook Live, and we are going to be talking about romance on the TARDIS. And I'm sure River's going to be coming up once or twice in that talk, so it should be kind of fun. So check us out. We're going to be doing the Facebook Live. As of right now, it's going to be the 8th of February, so Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we'll be putting up ads all over Facebook and up on our webpage and such. So join us. We definitely would love to hear from you guys. But in the meantime, let's thank our co-hosts for being here tonight. Julie, thank you so So
Thank you for having me again. I love talking about River Song.
I know. That's why we have you back for this. So, and you want to promote your podcast since you've mentioned it 15 zillion times?
I tried not to, but since we were talking first, second, and third Doctor, it just kind of happened that way. But yes.
Just happened.
Yes, I do have a podcast, and we are called Watchers in the Fourth Dimension, and it's me and 3 guys. So yes, I'm a little bit, out on that one. But we go through and watch every episode, every serial of Doctor Who, and we are currently in the 3rd Doctor era, and I can't remember what we just released, but I do know from a recording perspective, we're just basically finished the 9th season. So,
oh, cool. Oh,
it'll be exciting.
You got some great stuff ahead of you. You got some amazing stuff. So
yeah, I finally got to a point where I started to like the 3rd Doctor, so we've made it over that hump.
That's good. Great. You got to love the James Bond Doctor. It's pretty awesome.
It's very much James Bond.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here, of course. Austin Powers is a good way to put it. That is awesome, Mary. Well, Mary, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. Another great time.
How can people find you?
They can find me at maryogle.com or on Etsy at eVision Arts.
Excellent. And Mr. Mike Gordon.
As always, it's my pleasure. And I do want to also, if I can, point out that recently I appeared on another Doctor Who-related series here on the ESO network, and that is I joined Joe and Tony on the Watchathon of Rassilon, episode 154 that's coming out. We did a deep dive into the story Silver Nemesis, which is the 7th Doctor, right? Yeah, the 7th Doctor. And guest starring also Ashley Raybon was on that episode. We had a lot of fun talking about an episode that I hadn't seen before. We haven't got a chance to review it here on Earth Station Who yet, so I guess we'll get to that one eventually. So I'll save my remarks as to what I thought of the episode unless you listen to it there or until we review it here.
There you go. So there you can hear Mike again and again. So it's always awesome to hear him. So, with that being said, we will see you again in 2 weeks for our Facebook Live. And it's basically our Valentine's episode. So, we're going to try to be romantic here up on the station. I don't know how well that's going to work with the 4 of us. So,
probably about as well as it does in the TARDIS.
Yeah, the TARDIS is a rockin', don't come knockin'.
I think we're just as awkward, so it's perfect. With that being said, we'll talk to you later. Peace, and we are done. Ciao.
You have been listening to Earth Station Who, a bi-weekly pop culture podcast dedicated to all things Doctor Who, featuring talents from across the universe. All topics on the show are the sole opinions of the individual and are used for entertainment value alone. You subscribe to our podcast up on iTunes, Stitcher, or follow our blog at www.esopodcast.com. You can also follow us up on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. If you enjoyed the show, please leave feedback up on iTunes.
This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.